Right now. I think I found these.
Okay, there we
go. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Void, screaming into the void.
I am always screaming into the void. Oh, Diana's here. Hello. It doesn't show that you're here, but... Oh, now that says 3 people. The view count has not been very good with StreamYard lately, I've realized. Not very accurate. Hello, welcome to Live Show. We are talking about so many things today. Both Gwendy's and Rose Matter.
So. 2 months worth of things.
Yeah. We're getting square today.
Yes.
Catching up. Hi, Bree. I hope you're having fun.
I'm dropping it in the Discord.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm ready. Oh, Bree, hi! All right. So we're talking about 3 books, 2 little beans, and then a not so little bean.
A hunk of chunk.
I
was surprised at how big Rose Matter was.
Yeah.
Me too. Mm-hmm. But I think it's also like, it doesn't have like those Bible pages, so I thought it was much longer than it was, but it's only like 550. It just looks so big.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Actually, I ended up listening to most of it on audiobook. The audiobook is pretty good.
Okay. Is it just the one actor/actress?
Yeah, they have 2 voice actors.
Oh,
cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. So, do we want to start once we get the ball rolling with the novellas or this one?
I think do it in order and do Gwendy first.
Cool.
Do Gwendy first in case people haven't finished Rose Matter, or in case they want to duck out, and I think we'll have more to say about Rose Matter than Gwendy.
Yeah.
So, just makes more sense. Do you want to do introductions real fast and then hop into Gwendy chat?
Sure.
So, hello, I'm Casey. I'm one half of Books Before Death, Where You Are. And yeah, I'm one of the hosts of this read-along. And then we have, take it away.
Hey, I'm Max from Max Reads. I do single book reviews and love to see you on my channel.
It's linked in the description.
Hello, my name's Steph from Coffee Over Apples. I was taking a booktube break, but I'm about to be back after I take a nap tonight. It's going to be awesome.
Hell yeah.
And then we are also missing one friend who is not here right now, but will be joining us next month, and that is Maza from Maza Booktuber. So, Maza, if you go back and watch this, hey!
He's here in spirit.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and everyone's channels are linked down below in the description bar. At least they should be. So go check them out if you haven't already. I assume you have. So I assume if you're here, you came here from like the Discord. So, but I feel like it's always good just to do the introductions, like just in case. Because you never know. So first, we're going to talk about the Gwendys. So Gwendy's Button Box and Gwendy's Magic Feather. They're very short little novellas. So did anyone have any strong thoughts about Gwendy?
I have thoughts about Gwendy as a person, and I don't think she's a good person. That's my hot take.
No, I don't think it's a hot take. I agree with you.
I don't think she's supposed to be a good person.
Yeah. I think it's intentional.
Which is fine. I will say, I didn't really like her books, though.
No.
Like, I don't mind if we're following, like, a bad character, like a morally gray character. Like, it's fine. But I was just kind of bored.
It definitely feels much more like new Stephen King, which sometimes I feel isn't as good as like classic Stephen King. Like I was reading it, I was like, these read okay. But then like going back into Rose Matter, I was like, hell yeah, this is why I'm here.
I feel like the first one has Stephen King vibes, and then I feel like the second one barely has Stephen King vibes. Like, I feel like he wasn't involved, like, at all with writing.
No. He can't have been.
He can't have been. It didn't seem like him. Like, there was no, like, in the first one, there's, like, bits where you're like, oh, this is King. But in the second one, I was like, I don't see King at all in here, so.
Yeah. It was more like they were, well, I mean, I don't know to what degree King had in the writing process, or it was just in the editing process, but there were, like, snippets of things that I was like, okay, is he trying to write like King, or did King throw this in there, or like whose is this? I don't know. But it's okay. Do you want to say ratings?
Yeah, okay. The first Gwendy book I would give like a high 3, and the second one I would give a low 3.
I think I would agree with that. I think I gave the first one 3, like, ish, and then I think I probably actually gave the second one like 2.5 stars even, because I was kind of done by then.
Yeah.
Same. I'm giving both of them a 3. They're okay. The second one felt more like a mystery thriller.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
But not a like super suspenseful mystery thriller.
I think you could have removed all the magical elements from the second one and it still be exactly the same story.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And it was just like, I don't know, it didn't make sense in the context of the world to go from book 1 to book 2. There was like a huge disconnect. I mean, it's like a 15-year gap.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just didn't really care to see more without the button box involved. I feel like the button box is good as a concept, but I feel like they really didn't use it.
No way.
To their...
I feel like I kind of get what he was trying to do, maybe, where he was like, you give power to a child, and this is what they do it. But, like, then you give power to a full-grown woman, and this is what she'd do with it. But then, like, she didn't do anything with it.
Right.
Yeah, she didn't do anything.
That in itself would have been interesting. So maybe, I mean, who knows what the third book's going to do as far as, like, redemption for this storyline, but it could have possibly just been a duology and called it a day.
It could have been in the first book.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, just one.
It could have just been one book, yeah.
I kind of have a theory about the second one where, because, so with Richard Farris being like the big RF, which is like a recurring Stephen King thing, I feel like maybe Richard Chizmar didn't want to do anything with Farris at all because he knew how important that was to King, maybe. I don't know.
I feel like King wouldn't have even allowed him to take part in it if he didn't want him to like do something with it.
Yeah, the second one doesn't even say Stephen King on the cover though.
Yeah, it says forward by.
Oh no, you're right. It just says forward by.
But then I read the author's acknowledgments at the end, and then he talks about how Stephen King helped him edit it. So, or I think I don't. Sorry. I don't remember which, if it was in the, what's it called? The foreword?
Yeah, there's a foreword and an acknowledgement.
I don't remember if it's in this one or the first one or second one, but they were talking about how they started the first book like writing together, and then I guess like slowly Stephen King is giving it over to him as long as it fits within the Dark Tower universe. So
I feel like that's a hard thing for an author to do.
Yeah, especially with something like that important to you. Like, I assume the Dark Tower series is very important to King. So, like, giving that over seems so wild as a concept.
Yeah.
Especially because he could write it himself. Like, it's not like he's not writing right now. Like, he could write it himself.
Yeah, exactly. And it wouldn't have taken him long. He could write this in, like, a week.
Yeah, exactly. Like, these are not long. I know there's other author duos that do it in a way where like one writes and one edits, and that's how they like duo, like co-author things, and it works for them. And I don't feel like it works for these guys.
Yeah,
I don't feel like it works for what they're going for.
It's kind of weird.
It's interesting seeing how different people collab, because I was reading this thing about Good Omens, about how Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett did the collab. Yeah. And Neil Gaiman was like 90% of the process was just us screaming down the phone at each other. Like that was like the whole, that's how Good Omens exists.
Yeah, and I think he's also talked about how they don't know which paragraphs belong to which author, because like they were so interconnected in writing it, like they don't know which parts belong to which, and I feel like that's a really good way to do it. I will say I really liked the setup of Gwendy's button box, like that like introductory, like is it like the first paragraph where like we get like the suicide stairs and the box being handed to her. Like it's such an interesting concept, although I think I came up with a more interesting concept what I thought it was, because I went into it and I was like, oh, Gwendy's button box, and in my head I was thinking of like an actual like button, I guess more like a tin. You know how when people sew they have like the cookie tin with the buttons
me
in
too.
It? Yeah, that's what I was picturing.
Right.
And then I thought like they were gonna have like a bunch of buttons in it, and different buttons do different things, and you could sew them into your clothes and create like different powers and different like ways to interact with the environment. And I was like, that's gonna be cool. And
that would have
been
so good.
That totally didn't happen, but that's a great idea.
I was like, that's a good idea. So I was disappointed because I had a better idea, which is something I've never said. Very rarely say, but I was like, this is a weird concept.
Like, I had a better idea than Stephen King.
Exactly. Like, it seems like a ridiculous thing to say, but in this one instance, true. I feel confident saying that because
I think that's a fair shout. Yeah.
Oh.
So, Steph, why didn't you think she was a nice person?
She was just a brat. She was such a brat, and I mean, why didn't you think she was a nice person? She had, intentionally, she wasn't supposed to be a nice person, but she was just your run-of-the-mill, stereotypical.
I feel like she was okay until she did one thing, and I was like, When he gives her the box, and he's like, all of these are countries, and the black one, don't press that, and the red one does whatever you want. And he gives it to her, and she's really thinking about it. And instead of just pressing the red one and being like, I want a Mars bar, she presses the one that's like, I'm pretty sure it's going to cause destruction and hurt and pain. I'm just going to press South America and see what happens. What? The fact that she never uses the box to try and do anything good for the whole 2 books.
Yep.
Yeah,
so I guess we're in spoiler territory now.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I think we're just going straight in for spoilers with these because they're tiny weeny.
They're tiny, yeah.
Yeah. She's annoying. Doesn't do anything good. Super privileged.
Which like could have been an interesting story.
Right.
Like it could have been an interesting story with interesting commentary, and it just wasn't.
No, it did no commentary, which is why it fell flat for me. It's like, because it started to do that, I think, in book 2 when she was older and she was starting to question, like, hi, Barbara. She's like, what caused my life to be so great where I'm able to achieve all these things? Was it the box? Was it my privilege? And it's like, you'll never know. But then here's a magic feather. Like, where did that come from? Why?
The magic feather that did nothing.
That did nothing. And like, nothing. I don't know, and it makes me a bit nervous because I'm in thinking about other Stephen King books, how we don't always get a full fleshed out answer, and that's kind of like his style. I'm kind of sitting here like, do I even want to read the 3rd one? Because I might not even get an answer. It'll just be like the button box is back, the feather's gone. Why was it there? Nobody knows. We're in blood. Okay, like what's happening? We're here.
With the whole privilege discussion, I feel like it would have been much more interesting if instead of being like child with power, adult with power, it could be like somebody who has everything they want already getting the box, and then somebody who doesn't getting the box. I feel would have been like a much more interesting contrast.
Like a totally different character in book 2.
Yeah.
I also thought like she worries at one point about what will happen if she dies in possession of the box, like if someone will find it. And I thought in book 2 we were going to get the box showing up for her because the person that was holding it died and it returned to the previous holder, like automatically. Like that's what I thought we were going to get, but there's no mention. It's just there again.
Yeah. There's like so many ways that this whole series could be improved.
I think the best thing about this series was like the implications of like, what would you do if you had the box? Do you know what I mean?
So, speaking of which, okay, so it happened in both books, but I don't think I fully understood it in the first book, but more understood in the second book that the box was calling out to her. Because it seemed like once she decided in book 1 to press the purple button to kill South America, it's like, okay. It came out of nowhere though, because I feel like the way it was written was that she was doing a good job of ignoring whatever like vibrations were entering her mind, and all of a sudden she's like, you know what? I'm gonna go blow something up, and it's like, okay, chose violence today. And then, but in the second book, she was fighting it more, so I don't know if it's like because she was a kid. I don't know if that was just a writing inconsistency. What did you guys think?
I think there was a lot that seemed to have no explanation. Came out of that was not no explanation, but stuff that was very out of character.
Yeah, she didn't really we're talking about how like she's not a good person as a character, but also she didn't really have that much solid characterization because she did do things like randomly with no explanation. The most interesting thing to me in this series is the idea that someone dropped in her Discord that I also thought of when she was flushing the chocolates. I was like, Ninja Turtles, guys, it's happening. Yes. That's the most interesting thing.
I was also thinking about it like if it entered the water supply because the chocolate melted and then everyone in town has good luck or something. Like, because like most of his books have to do, at least except for these 3 apparently, have to do with like a town and people do horrible things and stuff. So I'm like, oh, we're getting to expanding beyond Gwendy and her immediate family, but then there's a murder mystery and it's like,
maybe that's book 3. Book 3, everybody has a lovely time because they're hopped up on magic drugs.
I mean, that sounds great. There were just a lot of like threads in these books that felt like they were trying to do something and then they weren't doing something, because also in book 2, like she's a politician.
Yeah.
And that's not really important. Except that random side plot about the woman that hates her, like it's not very important overall.
I feel like it could have been important though if they tied in the fact that like, because she talks about being constantly tempted to just press the button and kill that one guy who's a dick. And if she had like done that, or if it had talked about that more, then that could have been a plot arc. But like, nah.
Honestly, if the second book, instead of the weird mystery aspect, had her just killing that guy with the button, like that would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And very interesting.
It feels like both Stephen King and Richard Marr were like, what are all the possibilities that can happen in which we actually utilize the powers of the box? Let's do none of those things.
Yeah. Or like the least interesting or the worst like idea.
Yeah. It was weird. It was weird, but not in a good weird. It was just like,
it was not a good weird. Like there were no vibes. The vibes were not good.
Yeah, there were no vibes.
Like it wasn't even like not good vibes, there just weren't vibes.
There were vibes happening here more so than in here. But if anyone in the chat loved it, sorry for what we're saying, and please tell us why you loved it.
I'm not sorry.
Max is sorry, but we're sorry. And also, if you've read the third book, no spoilers, but like, what are your thoughts on it? If anyone's read the third one, because I'm real curious.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us if it's worth our time.
Yes. So aside from Richard Ferris, the other Dark Tower connections, are we able to talk about any of that yet?
Well, we can talk about where it's set because it's kind of connected to some other Stephen King stuff. Is it set in Castle Rock, this one?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's outside of Derry. It's Derry and Castle Rock are like his main 2.
For sure.
The 19 pops up a lot.
Yeah, there was a 19. There weren't that many Dark Tower connections. I think I expected more.
Yeah, the animals.
There's a turtle.
The turtle.
There was a turtle. I thought the turtle would be more prominent.
Yeah, I mean, it had all the animals that are connected to the Dark Tower itself. And anything else? That's really it. That's it.
Yeah, I'm curious how they get to like book 3 with the tower on the cover from this.
Yeah.
Apparently some of book 3, like, because I read the blurb of book 3, apparently some of it is like set in space. I love how you both of you perfectly in unison were like,
Excuse me?
What?
yeah, some of it's apparently set on a space station.
Oh.
So I have no idea what's going on.
Okay, I'm gonna guess if we have a time jump, right? So book 1 was taking place in the 70s. Book 2 was taking place 1999. So book 3 is gonna be like 2015 or 2020. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, another like 15-year time jump. That would be interesting.
I don't know if I'm excited or not.
I don't know. You know what though? Like how he constantly is using time-specific relevant events and music and political things to ground what's happening in that era. I swear, if he brings up the pandemic, I'm gonna scream. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say the 2016 election. I'm gonna scream because that's me. Like
I'm already.
I know he will, but
he's such a political guy.
I love that about him, though.
Yeah.
I do, but man, it can be hard to read about. So how in space? Like, does she go to space?
I have no idea.
I mean, I guess she could go to space.
What was there any other Stephen King stuff that you feel that this kind of matched the vibe of? Or do you feel like it was completely stand out? This is very different from everything else.
If I had to guess,
I don't think it matched anything.
maybe Elevation, which I didn't like.
I haven't read Elevation.
I haven't read it either, so
yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't hard at all. It was more of like speculative slice of life because it was nice. It wasn't even like a horror book.
That sounds lovely.
I don't know, but it was like weird with no explanations, and I don't even know why I read it. But anyway.
Okay, but for book 3, if there's this part in space, like what do we think the plot of book 3 is going to be? Because like,
well, the box is gone now, right? So
I feel like my prediction for book 3 is that she's like a pawn in a game and she's being used by Faris, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like in book 3 we're gonna see the other player that's not Faris. So I reckon we're gonna see like the good guy in book 3. Okay. And then maybe with the good guy not being especially good at all. That's my prediction.
I have a prediction, not that specific, more general. But I don't know if it's like, I don't think it's spoilery. But I'm kind of thinking about like how when Gwendy, Eddie and Susanna are like from different times, and yet they're on the same path as Roland. Like, what if Gwendy is also part of that? Like, it's like a good versus evil, I think, kind of thing, right? So what if Gwendy's like in another place in another time, but also serving similar purposes? I don't know. That makes sense.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But I think everything we've said so far has been too interesting for the series.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Do you think she's going to be an old lady in the last one?
I don't know.
Because she's what, 37 in the second book?
Oh, so she's going to be like 60 then.
Probably.
Yeah, okay.
An age where she can still run around.
Yeah. And go to space.
Go to space. Oh my god, if she goes from being an author to being a politician to being an astronaut.
I'm gonna DNF the book as soon as Wendy goes to space.
It'll be a fun life show. Like, so Wendy went to space and I left. I think she is gonna be an astronaut. Like, that's my theory for book 3, is that she has become an astronaut.
Oh, I hate it. If that happens, I'm gonna be so mad.
I'm not gonna be happy about it, but that's what I think is gonna happen. Doesn't she talk about space actually in the second book?
Space? Did she talk about space?
I don't remember.
Maybe she doesn't. It's been so long, guys. I don't remember. I feel like she does. I feel like she's gonna be an astronaut.
Don't say that, Casey. What do you say that for?
Sorry, I'll knock on wood. I mean, considering how the series is going, that wouldn't surprise me.
Do you think that the main Dark Tower baddie is going to show up?
Yeah.
In Gwendy 3?
I don't think so.
Wait, okay. I don't think we're there yet in the main series, but Max, is it the person who has not been named yet?
I think he's been named one time.
He has?
Yeah, one time in book 2. No, or in book 1.
No.
He's definitely been named once.
No.
Wait, about the F guy. He was named in book 1.
No, I'm talking about CK.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
No. Wait, when was he mentioned?
I'm almost certain he's mentioned during the palaver in book 1.
Let me look my notes right here.
If he did, I totally missed that.
Everyone who's like not that far in Dark Tower yet is like, what are they talking about?
Sorry. If he's brought up, then if he was brought up and I totally missed it, then I hope so, to give us some relevancy. That'd be great. That would be a great fill in that little hole right there.
I just feel like it would be a weird connection, like a weird choice to go Dark Tower with this series, like that much Dark Tower and not just like big references.
I don't know, like the cover.
I know, like the cover.
Yeah.
The cover makes me think it's going to go like really heavy Dark Tower.
I hope it does.
I hope it does, but I really hope Richard Chizmar doesn't fuck up anything Dark Tower that Stephen King's written already. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I hope it doesn't, because I don't know if I trust him to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He cannot be left unsupervised.
Yeah, they'll leave him unsupervised. Who knows what will happen?
But also, like, in just reflecting on the Dark Tower series as a whole, it's very broad, and so like there's so many avenues that he could go, and it could easily fit. You just do it well. That's all we're asking. Because it's not such a hard system that like you have to make sure that you're checking all these boxes. You could literally just easily fold that in.
Yeah. Stephen King doesn't have to explain anything, and rarely does.
Yeah. Don't expect anything.
I love things not explained to me, honestly.
This is not a hard magic system.
No, it's not.
No.
So yes, Roro, we are pure vibes eventually.
Hopefully. Do we know for the third one if Stephen King actually like helped write it, or did he just edit it? I think
the third one has both their names on.
Let me look.
I'm trying to look.
Great question.
Goodreads loads so slowly.
What's the third book title?
Gwendy's Final Task. And he's listed as an author on Goodreads. And his name's on the cover. So I feel like probably. Yeah, his name's like as the same size as Richard Chizmar's on the cover.
Okay.
So I feel like he's probably also an author.
I hope so. He's like book 1. He's like, oh, you can help me write a book. Book 2 is like, you want to try writing your own book? Book 3 is like, give me that back.
Give me that back. You're not allowed to have that anymore. Which is probably for the best.
Good. Okay.
We're ready to
Gwendy's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the same thing. Are we ready to move on to Rose Matter? Anyone have anything else?
I think there's more to say about Rose Matter. I think we're like struggling for Gwendy.
Yeah.
We're just ragging on it more, and I feel like that's not constructive.
It's not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Talk about Rose Matter.
So
we all got different colors.
Ooh,
exciting.
Cool.
Okay.
How do you want to start?
Content warnings.
Super.
Before anything else, I think. Every content warning you can possibly think of. Really.
Yes, really every content warning, specifically like domestic violence.
Yeah.
Yep.
And every sex-related content warning.
Mm-hmm.
Every physical abuse-related content warning, like gore, everything.
Yeah. I really don't know if this would even be published today.
I really think he struggled to get out.
Yeah.
Going off of that very quickly, I DNF'd this book I told these two earlier, but like I DNF'd this book. I left the post note in it. So at 134 pages in, I just gave up on it. It was a lot to read. My anxiety has been very high, and the domestic violence was like not triggering for me, but like bordering on that. And I was just like, I gotta stop. It was a lot. So if that tells you how bad like the trigger warning's in, because I can read a lot even when my anxiety is high, and this was too much for me.
Was there a specific scene that made you go, nah, that's enough?
I don't know.
Or were you just like, I am tired?
I think so. It was like, it wasn't bad. I was interested in the painting stuff, but the thing that made me stop is I opened like this to the next chapter, and it was his point of view again, and I was like, no,
yeah,
like no, like I get why we have his point of view, and it's very interesting.
It was hard to read. A lot of it was really hard to read.
I skipped or skimmed the previous ones, and considering how often we were getting them, because it was like 3 times in 130 pages, I was like, it's not gonna happen, guys.
Yeah.
So
valid.
Yeah.
I think his got a lot more bearable and interesting towards the end, because for a lot of it, like, he's not around Gwendy. So it's just like his crazy man internal monologue.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to read. I feel like this is probably like the most brutal Stephen King book I've read out of all of them, and I hadn't read this one before. Stefan, you've read this one before, did you say? No. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
I have mixed feelings, and I really don't know if I liked or didn't like this book. Part of me is like, I've been in the mood for some really dark, messed up stuff.
Yeah.
So I liked how messed up it was, but I can't tell if that's just because I've been deprived of some really dark content and have been craving it, or because it's actually any good.
Yeah.
So I'm I was waiting for this live show to be like, I want to hear what you guys have to say to help me make up my mind.
I mean, I love dark shit. I love like horror, like body horror stuff. Like I love gory dark shit, but it was too much for me. So I think that might lean towards not good, but that's just me.
I think that having the POV from him made it hard.
Yeah.
And I do kind of wonder, as I was reading this, I was like, did it need to be this bad?
That was my question. Like there were so many instances in which he was just doubling down, and kind of felt like he used every single possible trope to show like, this is the worst scum of the earth human being. And I don't know that was actually necessary at a certain point. Like,
the one thing that Stephen King does, and like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, I'm like, do something new, where you have like every single bad guy that's not like a Dark Tower interdimensional giant like evil super bad guy. Every like Earth bad guy is like super hardcore racist, like super hardcore misogynist, like super hardcore crazy. And it's like, I get that like racist, sexist, crazy people are always bad, but not all bad people are those things. Like, you can make a bad villain and make them bad in other ways, but it's like every single villain King writes is like, we make him racist, we make him sexist, we make him... It's like, I get it, but you've done that already. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I really like when the villain is partially relatable. Like, you almost agree with what he's saying, you just don't agree with how he's going about it.
Yeah, this guy is irredeemable.
Exactly. Like, so like, that's more of an interesting villain to me, and I feel like Stephen King can have interesting villains in the way that he does it, but I feel like he could have more interesting villains if he did branch outside of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Thing.
Do you think that, I mean, to me, it kind of reads as like, he's trying to create this villain that is universally villainous, that no one could potentially try to redeem. But in doing that, is it just too heavy-handed?
By doing that, is just shock tactics.
Yeah.
It's almost like a caricature of a villain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like curly moustache, like
exactly.
Dead. That in that same vein, though, I'm realizing upon reading all these Stephen King lately that even though he is so direct in, I'm gonna borrow your word, Casey, characterization of villains, I don't like the way he writes women. I'm struggling with it. Yeah. I don't know. I'm like back and forth with it. So.
I think the only person that I really, really liked of his that he wrote that was a woman is Holly Gibney. I think Holly Gibney is such an amazing character. And like she was in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy.
Oh, okay.
And she was in The Outsider.
Okay.
Oh, she is like.
I read the first one and I liked that. The first Mr. Mercedes book, and I really liked it, so that makes sense to me.
Wasn't the Outsider following the guy?
Yeah.
The
dad? It followed the dad, yeah, but he had the help of a detective. That was Holly Gibney.
Oh, okay, got you. Didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and she's awesome. But like most Stephen, actually, I don't know. I kind of like Odessa as well.
Oh no, I do like Odetta.
But like outside of those two, it's like.
Yeah, out of all the female characters written by Stephen King, I'd say Odetta is my favorite.
Yeah.
It's Susanna. But yeah, I struggled in this one. I think mostly because I was noticing like the way that he would describe women would always be like by a body type and a body structure. Like she is grotesquely obese. And I'm like, okay, but I would like to hear you say that about some other characters, and you're not saying anything. So what is normal? What is normal to you? So then I can understand what not normal is.
Do you think that was a reflection of him, or do you reckon that was meant to be a reflection from the POV of Norman?
Considering the fact that, this is things that I noticed in Rose's chapters.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and it's also I noticed it in The Gunslinger, in a couple of his other books. So at a certain point, I feel like it has to be a reflection of the author when it's like a complex series. So, my 2 cents.
Off the opposite to that, though, I feel like he does write children well.
Yeah.
I feel like he always writes not well, but he always writes convincing children.
Mm-hmm.
Which is hard to do.
Which is hard to do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you've done that, now work on the other one.
work on that first, please. Do we want to go into spoilers?
Yeah, I think so.
It's gonna be hard to explain the ending.
Oh, we'll do like a full rundown for Casey.
Okay.
Just so you know what happened. I feel like the vibe of this one was a really similar vibe to Duma Key.
Oh, I love
and also a really similar vibe to Lisi's story.
I haven't read Lisi's story, but I did read Duma Key.
Lisi's story is my favorite Stephen King book.
Okay. That's interesting though, because I've reread Duma Key at least a dozen times. So that's very interesting to me.
Oh, is that
Duma
your
Key
favorite?
Is so good.
Other than It?
It might be. It might be my favorite besides It. I really love Duma Key, and I keep telling this to my mom because she's an artist and she's a painter, and now I'm going to tell it to you, Steph. But I want someone to recreate the paintings in Duma Key because I think that they would look incredible.
Yeah.
Especially the one that's like shot under his like house condo of like the shells and the rocks and the roses growing out of it. I would buy that painting in a heartbeat.
Roses.
Oh my god, I am so going to recreate every painting that is mentioned in every Stephen King book.
Yes.
Consider it done.
Yes, it's great. It's like my favorite thing. Hi, Josh.
Yo.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind looking at your comments.
So where did you get up to? And we'll try and give you like a full synopsis.
Okay, so I got up to the part called the Manta Ray. So she has just like bought the painting and has just moved into like her new like studio apartment.
Okay.
And that's as far as I got.
Okay.
I did write down my favorite quote from the first 130 pages.
Tell us that.
because it made me cackle, and it's one of the other women saying like, "My doll is the answer to all world problems," and I agree. It's the answer. So that's how far I got.
Okay, so she gets the apartment. She gets a job.
Yeah, she got like
a boyfriend. Oh. Yeah, and then Norman, we learn about how he just gets worse and worse. Like he was apparently trigger warnings for things like we said, but he's like raping women, he's torturing them.
Oh, he killed a woman.
People.
He killed a sex worker.
He killed a sex worker. He's torturing just everyone he comes in contact with. He basically tortures. And then he starts hunting her by putting out calls to other police in other towns in which he thinks that she might have gone to based on interviews with the bus station attendants, and makes it sound like she is wanted for stealing credit cards, I think.
Yeah.
And then Rosie starts getting paranoid because the painting starts to move and things in the painting start shifting, right? So she's getting paranoid that she's got anxiety, I think, and it's like manifesting physically. So she starts thinking that Norman's going to come for her. So she tries to break up with her boyfriend.
Oh, yeah, she starts dating the guy from the antique shop.
Yeah.
Bill.
Okay.
And also, Norman does this thing called trolling. Did you get as far as that? Where he
I think so, or I
tries to put himself in the mind of somebody and like tries to like pseudo become them. So he was like retracing all of her steps through the city and stuff like that.
He basically becomes Will Graham.
Yeah, this is my design.
Like knockoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like discount budget Will Graham.
Nice, okay.
Yeah, and then what happens after that? So the painting starts moving. I think eventually he does find her.
So he tracks her down. You know the guy she spoke to in the bus station who sent her in the direction of the woman's shelter? He finds that guy and he like bites him to death and like extracts the information from him and like tortures him basically. And he comes, he like leaves a trail of death trying to get to Gwendy. And then
Rose.
God, Gwendy, get out of my head. To Rosie. This is real Rosie. She's Rosie real. And then the painting, she like swears it's getting bigger and bigger, and then one night she like steps into it.
Portal.
And then she's like, she meets this woman who looks kind of like her from behind, and then she's accompanied by a woman who Rosie knows to be dead. And she's like, but she can't look at the woman's face because the other woman's like, don't look at her, otherwise you'll die. And the woman sends her, she has to find a baby. She has to like sent into these ruins in the painting to like make her way through a labyrinth with this bull god in it and like rescue a baby, which is like pseudo like her aborted child kind of thing. And then he
gets into the painting. Like she tricks him into the paintings, or they end up and then he ends up in the painting, and then
the end is she like tricks him in.
He gets killed in the painting, right?
Kind of. He like, so before that, he like tracks her down to this picnic she's having with her like her women's shelter that she was a part of.
Oh yeah,
they have her friends.
We'll talk about that after. Sorry, go ahead.
So she's not there. And basically her friends from the women's shelter clock that it's him, and they end up just kicking the shit out of him. Like they get him in an alley and they're like beating him, and then one of the women like sits on him and like pisses on him. It's great. That was my favorite bit in the whole book, was when Gertie is just beating the crap out of this serial killer.
Amazing.
So good. But yeah, then he follows her home and she tricks him into the painting, and like when he escapes from the women's shelter picnic, he's like wearing this like plastic bull mask, and as he goes through the painting, it like fuses to him, and like he becomes this weird cow demon thing.
Minotaur thing.
I know what.
And then I think he dies-ish, kind of. And then she comes out of the painting, and she's got her boyfriend, so he's good. They're good. They're happy, I think. But then she has to repay. Does she have to like do something?
There's like an epilogue where the woman in the painting sends her through all these like weird, like almost like Greek mythological tasks through this castle.
Yeah,
and she ends up having like pomegranate seeds, which again is very Greek. And like crossing a river of like death, which is super Greek.
Several rivers in the underworld.
Many.
I've been rereading Percy Jackson, y'all, so my brain is
rivers down there.
Full Greek mythology right now.
You can't move for rivers in the underworld.
I think there's
like there's a few.
Yeah.
I've not been, but
and that's where most of the Dark Tower references I think happen, like after she enters the painting.
Yeah. And the woman straight up talking about like car and stuff. And the woman that's with the woman in the red dress.
Something. There's the D.
Yeah, Dorcas.
Yeah.
Her name is actually Dorcas. And she directly references Lud.
Which is
and that she used to be in Lud, and she watched like the revolution in Lud and like heads on spikes down the sides of the street and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Which we'll learn more about next month.
Yes, I was very interested about the painting stuff because I knew it was going to get cool, but the rest of it was a lot, and it seems like I agree that it's like overdone to the point of like, why is this happening? Like, especially the serial killer stuff. Like, why does he have to kill and torture everyone he comes into contact with? Like, he's enough of a villain at the beginning, just as like abusing her. Like, that is enough of a problem to deal with. And then, it seems like a lot. I like that it's all Greek mythology tie-ins though, because we got the painting and I was like Greek or Roman because I wasn't sure the first like introduction because it could have been both or either. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it could have been.
Me neither. And the new Still Angelo book next year. Excited. Anyway, we won't talk about Percy Jackson here. But I'm doing a reading vlog, so stick around.
Yay. I feel like this book could have been like 100 pages shorter. Like I agree with Casey. Like the information we got about establishing his villainousness in the beginning was enough. So we could have taken out a whole bunch of chapters of watching him torture people, and it still would have hit him just as much.
It seems like you could have taken out his point of view throughout the book.
Yeah.
And it would have been the same. And also it would have been more suspenseful because you wouldn't have known what he was doing or if he was still around.
There was one bit with his point of view that really confused me. That was like 3/4 of the way through, or sorry, like 2/3 of the way through. And this is when she's in the painting. She goes inside the painting, and there's this bit where he's laying on his bed, and he's like trolling, where he's trying to figure out like what she would be doing at that exact second, and he straight up fully has a vision of her in the painting doing exactly what she's doing.
Like how?
And I'm like, how you do that? That was confusing. I wasn't sure about that bit.
Yeah, because I think one of the point of views I read from it describes what she's doing. Like at the very beginning, it describes what she's doing as like you get to his part, and I was confused by that too because I'm like, does he know this? Like, why is it in his point of view? Because we just read this. Like, we know what she's doing.
I think it's like staggered, so it's like this, but then his is back here a little bit. So it's like they're catching up to one another. I guess I don't know. Yeah, it was odd, the timing.
Yeah, I felt like a weird way to write it because like we know what she's doing and it's staggered by the writing, so you would assume it would be staggered in the story. So it just seems like a weird writing decision. Yeah, a lot of it seems like a weird writing decision. I'm still thinking about the biting the guy to death thing.
Yeah, oh my god.
Jesus.
It's making me think of that I don't think any of you watch Supernatural, but there's a Supernatural scene where two people like eat each other to death, and that's what I'm picturing, and it's a lot. So,
I haven't seen that.
Valentine's Day. It was a fun episode.
But yeah, so it was weird. It was okay. I don't know.
You know, a comment about the women's thing, didn't you?
About oh yeah, I was trying to wrap my head around like, because there was a conversation with, I forget her name, but the woman who was in charge of the shelter.
Oh, Anna? Was it Anna?
Was it Anna?
Yeah.
So Anna was talking to Rosie about how the main priority is the women's safety and making sure that like no one is able to find them, to hurt them. They pay things with cash. She has like phone numbers and addresses that are secret, that are not given away, and all these things. So the idea of having, like, not saying that they can't have, they definitely should have morale boosting events, but it was a very public, like, the women's shelter is having a big public event where all the women are going to be there. I was like, okay, but aren't you advertising to all of the people that you're running away from? Like, hey, they're here, come find them. Like, that just didn't make sense to me as a writing choice.
Especially because they have a big shelter where they could have an event at.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, they have a place to hold an event.
Right. Or you can have an event and not even use the name of the organization, so that it's just like a private event and no one has to know. Right. Yeah. Like, there were so many other options, but I guess plot wise it was convenient. So that was weird. And then also, just a side note, I was the conversation at the women's group where they were talking and having a good time and everything, where Rosie was meeting all the other women in the shelter. They were saying a lot of things, and I was just like, who says that? I don't talk like that. Like, they were referring to guys whacking off the old broom handle, and I was like, who says that? I don't say that. Like, that's not a normal thing to say.
Well, luckily you have Stephen King here to tell you how women think.
Right. I was just like, okay, it's clearly I can know who's talking right now, but okay. But yeah, that was just a little weird plot wise.
Yeah, that was some really odd euphemisms.
Yeah.
Yeah, why even use euphemisms? Like, it's Stephen King. Like, we know.
It's like you're gonna walk us through somebody getting bitten to death, but you can't say dick.
Or just jerking off.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys.
What?
Well, it seems like a wild ride. I do want to read it at some point, like go through it and actually read it, because I kind of want to read the scene where the women beat him up. That sounds like a great scene.
It's cool. It's really cool.
But overall, it just seems like there are a lot of weird writing choices.
Yeah. I don't know, but it did feel very old Stephen King. So if you enjoy old Stephen King and not his new stuff, chances are you're probably going to like this one.
Yeah. I liked the way it was written. I feel like it was the content that I took some issue with, but I really like his writing style as classic King.
Yeah. I did like this. That's good.
I feel like this really ties. I feel like there are a lot of connections to stuff that happens in Lisey's story. So when you've read that, I want to talk about those.
Maybe I'll read that first, and then I'll go back to this in a little bit.
That's so good, Casey.
I own it, I'm pretty sure, so I can read it at some point. I gotta pack all my books up, but that's fine.
What did you give it stars up for this one?
I guess me, because Casey's DNF'd it. I'm not sure if I'm sitting at I think I'm sitting at a 3.75.
Okay.
Fair. Maybe a 4 for enjoyment.
Yeah.
But sitting a little bit lower than that, so I'm gonna go 3.75.
I think this is a 4, but it would have been really easy for King to have made it a 5. If he'd made some different choices, it could have been a 5.
Yeah, do you think if he had made it less in your face, that maybe it would have been a 5?
Maybe if he just made the POV chapters a couple of pages, because they were really long. A lot of the POV chapters. Cool. If he'd had more of the POV chapters, but they were 2 pages each, I feel like that could have worked really well.
I feel like it would have been easier to read too, because then you were just dipping into his head and not settling down for a bit.
What do you think, Steph, that Rose Madder was?
Great question.
Do you think she's anything we've seen before, having read Dark Tower to the end?
Yes, but I don't know how to talk about it here without spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to code this as best as I can. Facilitating the events necessary to bring forth the prince. Does that make sense?
That was really, really nicely worded, actually.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Agree,
that was. I agree. Yeah, I
okay,
agree.
cool. Yeah.
Well, remind me of that when I can understand it.
Okay.
That's what I think.
It's a secret club.
Listen, I was on the other side of that. I know how fun it is.
Yes. So there might be. Oh. Oh wait, no, that wouldn't make sense. No.
That's how my brain works too. I didn't connect anything.
Yeah. There's definitely connections in setting to book. Is it 7? 6, 7.
I think there's definitely 7 connections.
There's a lot of connections to book 7, book 3, and book 7. Which makes me wonder if the certain villains that were in book 7 is actually Norman. Like side villains?
I don't know. I feel like Norman. I don't know. In my head, Norman died in this one.
You think so? Like fully?
Yeah, I think. Well,
It wasn't just like consumed by.
Maybe in body he died. I don't know. That's a good question. You should write it down. We'll come back to it.
Okay,
in December.
Okay.
Yeah, you should definitely write it down.
There's a lot. So like, I don't think it's spoiler to say that like the Dark Tower core series gets really weird and like.
It gets so weird.
So weird,
Yeah.
and like monstrous. So I'm wondering if this is like if Rose Matter set us up to kind of understand where those future creatures originate from, like they're being pulled in.
I feel like book 1 to 4 is semi-weird, and then Wolves of the Color is like...
It's like super weird. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Okay. Yeah.
I love weird shit.
I think 5 is where it just goes absolutely insane.
Yeah.
In my head.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with... Yeah, I feel like Rose Matter, aside from setting up the main plot story of books 6 and 7, also gives us information as to like how different worlds are pulled in. Aside from what we know already about Odetta and Eddie and Susanna being pulled in by Roland, like how other worlds.
Do we think the painting was the same mechanics as the doors then?
Quite possibly.
And who's making them? Who even made those doors?
Oh my gosh, should we get an answer to the doors in Gwendy? Am I asking for too much?
You're asking for way too much.
There's a door in space.
Maybe she'll just like see a picture of it, the Dark Tower, and be like, "Oh, that's cool," and then like that's the only reference to it we get.
Don't do this to me. I feel like I'm mentally prepared to have my feelings hurt.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So for Rose Matter, if I try and read it again, do you think I should try and read it before book 6 in Dark Tower or book 7?
It could be after, I think.
Okay.
It could be after, because I mean, I didn't read it until I'd read the whole Dark Tower series.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like it didn't have any major plot connections that you need to build up to it. It's just kind of like filling in gaps.
Yeah.
You're not going to miss out on anything by leaving it until later.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it for now. I might try before, but we'll see. We'll see how it's going.
But yeah, those are the thoughts.
I'm trying to think of something else.
My question was just going to be like, how much of it is the painting? Like, how much do we see of the painting? Because I only got like the brief thing of it.
A lot.
A lot.
And
okay.
Can I just say, Josh asked a fucking excellent question, and I really don't know, but I could maybe yes.
That's a great,
That is a really good question, and I think you're right. God, I didn't even think about that until right now. Yeah.
Well, great point too. Like, this is a great question because, like, should we have included The Shining in this read along?
Maybe, because the more I hear about, like, the more I remember about book 7, the more I feel like Shining is relevant.
Yeah.
In some way to the series. We might have to squeeze it in somewhere.
Yeah, we could do it as like a bonus book at some point.
We could.
I'm down for it. I've never read The Shining, so
it's good.
I've never read the actual book. I've just watched the movie a million times.
Same.
Do you know it took me 5 attempts to watch the film?
Really?
Because every time I watch the film, I'd always put it on at like 9 o'clock at night, and I've always fallen asleep. And I always fall asleep at the same bit where he's like talking to the waiter in the bar.
I love that scene.
I love this cool scene, right? But every single time I'm like,
interesting.
Okay. Yeah, we might have to like.
Okay, we'll consider that. Stay tuned in the chat.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yes.
Stay tuned in the Discord, which is also linked down below. That would be interesting. Because I told Steph I would try and get to the stand this year, and that is still the plan.
Yes.
Stand is cool.
It is really good.
I've gotten like 200 pages into it before, and it's just a lot.
It is a lot.
And then we entered a global
series
pandemic.
Adaptation of it.
I've been hearing really good things.
It was.
Really?
It was good for like half of it. Like the first half was really good. And then, like, Steph, I think the moment they went to Vegas, it was like...
Yeah. I didn't like it after that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird. And also, there were certain core scenes that were changed. And I don't know why. They didn't have to change it.
Yeah. They took a lot of liberties with that series.
Yeah, they did. They changed a lot. Which changes the fear factor for it too. So it wasn't as scary. But then they also added an epilogue and extension.
That's weird.
Which didn't really need to happen. I don't know. It was a whole thing.
Adaptations are fascinating.
Yeah.
Like the things that they change or the things that they add in when they really don't have to. It's like, why
did you do that?
Like, it doesn't work better on screen than the original text would. So, like, why would you bother changing it? Especially when you know, like, a lot of people watching the adaptation have read the book.
So. Yeah, there was a lot of things changed. Even though this is not a stan chat, but like in relation to these books, like in Rose Matter, we had 2 point of views. The Stand is one of the books where we have like so many point of views.
I think there's like 8, like 6 or 8 in The Stand.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love the characters, so it all works out.
I love a lot of point of views. I think it's a lot of fun.
It's very easy to read. Lots of point of views, I think.
It goes quick.
With The Stand, you needed to go quick. Otherwise, you spend like a whole year on that book.
Literally.
So long.
So next month we're reading The Wastelands.
I'm really anxious about this.
Why?
Because this is my least favorite Dark Tower.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
No way. I really like this one. I mean, I remember really liking this one.
I remember disliking it, so I'm hoping that I've grown as a person since then, and it's really good this time.
I'm hoping we don't switch and I end up hating this one.
Did you not like it, or did you just like not like it for a Dark Tower book? Was it still like a really good?
It's still a good book. Yeah, it's just my least favorite out of 7 books that I really like.
Interesting. Wait, which one's your favorite?
2.
2 is your favorite? Okay, no, I get that. 2 is really
Either 2 or Wolves of the Color, because that's
Wolves
just
of-
insane.
I'm excited.
Okay.
Excited for insane.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, I like this one. And Wolves of the Collar was also really good. And then Wizard and Glass was also really good. So I feel like those 3.
Wizard and Glass gets so much hate.
I love Wizard and
People
Glass.
really
so
like
good.
to shit on Wizard and Glass.
I don't know. Okay. But anyway, so we're reading this one.
Max is stressed about it.
I'm so stressed.
Don't be stressed. I hope you like it. I hope I
I hope
like
I like it. I hope I like it.
This one, Max, correct me if I'm wrong, goes into a more sci-fi place?
There are a few more sci-fi elements that it introduces, yeah.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't feel like it's a bit of the world build that's wrong. Like it like slots in a little bit of sci-fi and you're like, okay, that's there now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already just having read the first 2 books, it already feels like a mix of the 2 genres. Like it's very sci-fi fantasy.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, so book 1 was very Western, 2 was very fantasy.
Portal fantasy.
Yeah.
Portal fantasy.
This one is sci-fi, a little bit more horror, I think, in this one.
I think that one is maybe even post-apocalyptic sci-fi.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
It kind of looks it.
Yes. And then...
It's a little bit Mad Max.
Yes, definitely. This Mad Max feels. And then 4 is Wizard and Glass. So I think that one goes back to like a little bit of Western.
4 is like Western fantasy. 50-50.
5 is Western magic.
5 is everything.
Everything?
5 is every genre.
6 is contemporary fantasy horror portals. And then
more
7,
portals.
More portals. And then 7 is everything. And then we're done.
And then we're emotionally broken and we never recover.
Okay, I need to say this. I don't know if you said this already. This is more for Casey than anything.
Okay.
And it hasn't written yet. Be mentally prepared. I feel like there's 2 groups of people with the end of the Dark Tower, where it's like either you love it and you're emotionally broken, or you're kind of like, what was that? And like either it falls flat or you are staring at your ceiling, and I don't know like which group you're gonna fall into.
I feel like Casey's gonna like it.
I hope Casey loves it.
I hope I like it too.
You like it too.
I will say I'm very excited to get back into Western fantasy. I don't know why, but I really like that as a subgenre. I think
it's such a good subgenre.
Yes, it's very good.
And then also the everything. I also love everything as a genre.
And this one's a little bit thicker than the others too.
Yeah,
it's about the same size as Rose Madder, I think.
I think it is.
Yeah, it doesn't look overly thick.
It's 600.
Okay, yeah,
it's like 6 pages more than Rose Madder.
Yeah,
it's not much more.
Easy. I think Stephen King books read pretty quick, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any of his books that I was like really struggled with.
No, they read very fast. Is that all we have to say?
I think that's all I got to say.
Oh, I did have one more thing to say about Rose Madder, actually. I feel like there's a recurring theme in Stephen King's books, and like all of his books, about how when something magic happens to a human, their brain will absolutely try its best to be like, that's not real. Goodbye. That's a fake memory, fake dream. Like, we will try our best, shove it to the back, forget it. And I feel like that happens in like almost every Stephen King book. Like even in It, where they like overwrite that part of their entire childhood, they just blank it out. But like it happens a lot.
I like that.
I like it too, because it makes it feel like it's something that could happen in our world.
And it also feels like something that people would do, because people do like they don't see things that they don't want to see, and they don't believe things that they don't want to believe. So like seeing something magical and having to deal with like what that entails for like how big the world is after that, I could see a lot of people just being like, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
The best time I think that happened, I don't know if either of you have read the short story called The 10 O'Clock People.
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
With people like seeing magical things and it just like breaking their brain apart. Like, read that short story. It's one of the best Stephen King short stories.
Okay. Which collection is that in?
I think it's in Nightmares and Dreamscapes.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely
I
haven't
think.
read it. Okay. Yeah, because I love when like magic breaks people's brains.
Yeah, we are not built to do magic.
Yeah, it makes me think of Cthulhu. Like just looking at it, like drives you insane.
Love it.
Love that. Love those
Hell
vibes.
Yeah. Love cosmic horror. Love losing my mind.
Yeah, let's go, guys. Okay. So is that everything?
I think so. Unless you got anything else.
Yes. Next month, as Steph just said, Wastelands. We will be in the Discord where we will announce when our next live show is, when we have a date and everything. And
I'll put up the chapter headings tonight for that one.
Yes, very good. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to everyone down below. We will have Mazza back next month, hopefully. So look forward to that. And yeah,